Julie, you ready to go? You good? Ricky, you good? Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If I could have your attention, we'll go ahead and get our meeting called to order. It is Monday, May the 1st. Happy May Day, 5:30 p.m. And I do want to remind you that tonight is our workshop meeting where we will be discussing all the items that we'll be voting on 2 weeks from now on our third Monday meeting. The only item that we'll actually vote on this evening, though, is the approval of the agenda. And gentlemen, you have that agenda before you. If anyone would like to grab an agenda to follow along there on the podium back here, you're certainly welcome to do so. And you have the agenda, so I'll take a motion concerning that.
Move to approve.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. We do have a couple of presentations this evening, so I'm going to come down front and ask the folks that are here for the Mental Health Awareness Month to please join me down front, and I'll show you where we need to stand. We do have cameras that are back here by the clock, so if you will all join me right here, kind of in a semicircle or in a row, we can all gather around and just look at the cameras up there if you'd like to. All of our meetings are on YouTube, and so they are all unedited. They're shown within about 24, 48 hours, and so you can see yourself on YouTube and tell all your friends and everyone that you have the proclamation. So, let me set this here and share with everyone what we have this evening, which is really important. Okay, so and I have to use this so that the camera microphone will pick up. All right, this is a proclamation for Mental Health Awareness Month, and our proclamation says, whereas there is a proven connection between good mental health and overall personal health, and mental illnesses affect almost every family in America, and millions of adults and children are disabled by mental illnesses every year. And whereas people living with mental illnesses can recover if given the necessary services and support in their communities, and fewer than 1/3 of adults and 1/2 of children with a diagnosable mental disorder do receive those mental health services in a given year. And many people who would benefit from mental health services avoid seeking help due to stigma and fear of discrimination. And research shows that the most effective way to reduce stigma is through personal contact with someone with a mental illness. And good mental health is critical to the well-being of our families, communities, schools, and businesses. And greater public awareness about mental illnesses can change negative attitudes and behaviors towards people with mental illnesses. And now, therefore, I, Julie Smith, Mayor of the City of Tifton, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as Mental Health Awareness Month, and I further call upon our community to commit to increasing the awareness and understanding of mental illnesses, reduce the stigma and discrimination, and promote appropriate and accessible services for all people living with mental illnesses. And it has been witnessed today. I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Tifton to be affixed this first day of May. I've signed it. Like I said, it's been witnessed by Jessica White, our city clerk. So it is proclaimed we are now in Mental Health Awareness Month. And I'm going to let one of you nice people, if you'd like to share any information about the programs that you offer, so whoever's prepared to speak.
All right. I'm Stephanie Davis. I am the Administrative Director for the Legacy Behavioral Health Crisis Center. And those of us here from Legacy want to thank Tifton and the community for working to decrease that stigma, acknowledge the importance of mental illness and the care that it takes for them. And recovery is possible. So we want everyone to know that. And we believe that, you know, mental health is primary. You can't really get well without taking care of that first. So we want to make sure that, you know, your citizens know that that's very important, looking at the whole person, not just their mental illness. And, you know, that we are here for them. That's our entire goal.
That's perfect. That's wonderful. Well, thank you for what you do. Let us give you a round of applause. And I'm going to present you with the proclamation. So it, again, is an honor to be able to work with you and to proclaim this. And like you said, it's so important that we work together and provide the resources that are needed. People should not feel stigmatized. I understand that they do, and we need to do a better job of making sure that we point them in the right direction to get the services that they need. So thank you for what you do. So y'all have a great evening. You're certainly welcome to stay. You don't have to. We have an exciting agenda on the table. And then the next proclamation, actually, I'm going to go. I don't think, is there anyone here for the Jewish American Heritage Month? I didn't think that there was. So I'm going to put this here. And I will come back up there. Our next proclamation, as many of you know, you've seen in the news where there have been some horrific hate crimes that have been done in the Atlanta area, where material has been distributed to neighborhoods, just really ugly brochures and pamphlets about Jewish people, just very negative. And so we wanted to support Jewish American Heritage Month in May 2023, and this proclamation reads, whereas Jewish American Heritage Month is an annual celebration of Jewish Americans who have helped weave the fabric of American history, culture, and society, and 2023 marks the 43rd annual celebration of achievements and contributions by Jewish Americans, starting with the establishment of Jewish American Heritage Week in 1980 and expanded upon in 2006 when Congress called on the country to observe annual Jewish American Heritage Month each May. And Jewish American Heritage Month acknowledges achievements of American Jews and recognizes their indispensable role in life, making invaluable contributions to our nation through their leadership and achievements. And our city recognizes that the alarming rise in anti-Semitism and hatred is a threat not only to the Jewish people, but to all of us, and that we must foster the conditions that allow our communities to be safe, healthy, and vital. And we offer hope and optimism through the celebration of the vibrant heritage of the Jewish Americans who have enriched our country and our communities for hundreds of years by bringing Jewish American Heritage Month to our cities. And whereas Jewish American Heritage Month pays tribute to the generations of Jewish Americans who have helped form the fabric of American history, now be it resolved that the City of Tifton does hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as Jewish American Heritage Month in Tifton, and encourages all of our residents to foster mutual celebration and to celebrate our diverse community. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to read that into record with that proclamation. Our next item on the agenda is an update from Abby McLaren. She is the Director of the Downtown Development Authority. So Abby, we'll turn it over to you. Okay.
Is it on?
There we go.
No,
Capability, yeah.
I had no idea. It's
You can go
impressive.
to the next slide for me, please. So I am here tonight to talk about some of the achievements of the Development Authority the last year. Very proud of these numbers, but want to talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. Our office is the Downtown Development Authority, which also houses the Main Street Department as well as the Main Street Program. So the Main Street Program is based off of a 4-point approach, and it's easy to remember with the slang DOPE. That is design, organization, promotion, and economic vitality. So those 4 core goals give us strategy when talking about the framework of what we do, and those 4 things help guide us into achieving those things that we're trying to accomplish. So we are an accredited National Main Street community. That is something that I'm very proud of, and that is something that means that we meet a certain standards that the National Main Street office sets out for us to accomplish. We are also a GEMS community, which is a Georgia Exceptional Main Street. That's the highest ranking, very proud of that, but that also means that on a monthly basis, we submit reports to the Georgia Main Street office that reach a certain level of standards or exceed a certain level of standards. The numbers that are collected each month are property sold, rehabilitation numbers, if you will, cost, events, volunteer hours. So we take all of that information, and each month we submit it to DCA, essentially, and that they keep up with all those numbers for us and then turn it over to the National Main Street program at the end of the year. And so each year, about this time, we receive notification from the National Main Street office as well as the Georgia Main Street office that lets us know that we are accredited and we are of that level. So very proud. Other communities that are GEMS communities are Valdosta, Thomasville, Perry. So we're right there with them. Next slide. So design. So you have to remember those four goals that we have. So DOPE, design is the first one. So what does design mean? So design supports our community's transformation by enhancing the physical and visual assets that set the commercial district apart. So we want downtown to look different than any other district that we have. And these are some of our goals that we've accomplished: landscaping and hanging basket, tree planting, gateway signage, public art projects. And we know that trees strengthen communities, promote physical and mental health that we just talked about, and provide economic benefits to neighborhoods, as well as public art providing economic benefits, enhances the quality of life for residents, and promotes tourism. And these dollars here that I included last year in 2022, the Downtown Development Authority, this is separate than the Main Street budget, the Downtown Development Authority contributed $55,225 to beautification efforts within our downtown. The design concept also is the quality of life and addition of sense of place elements. So we have many goals that we're working towards for this year, such as downtown speaker systems and public art projects. MJ and I attended a workshop over in Thomasville in February that talked about activating spaces. So we have the Gateway, or we have Tipton Gardens. How can we activate those spaces with public art projects? I grew up here as a child. I remember going to Fullwood Park and playing the musical instruments, and they were really just nothing but pipes and making different sounds, but that made a large impact in my life. And I remember, playing on the playground with my brother and doing that. So we're talking about bringing some musical playground equipment into downtown. We can't necessarily pop up a big, playground with a slide in some of our pocket parks, but we can make these spaces work and activate them. The next slide is organization. It involves creating a strong foundation for sustainable revitalization efforts, including cultivating partnerships, community involvement, and resources for the district. So I listed some of our accomplishments. The expansion of the DDA boundaries last year. We were able to accomplish expanding the boundaries on the north end and the south to encompass the new youth center, where we will be partnering with the Tipton Council for the Arts and Urban Redevelopment Agency for the mural project that will begin next week. I'm looking at MJ. Next week. As well as the north end of the boundaries to encompass Fullwood Park. That is the largest park that the city has, so we were happy to include that, and that way we can offer incentives and grant writing for that park. South Tipton Historic District. So I went to the URA meeting last month and talked about establishing this South Tipton Historic District. The foundation has really been laid out previously. Bruce Green contributed to a lot of that, but we want to apply for a grant that would take South Tipton's neighborhood and put it on the National Register of Historic Places. There was some grant and federal funding that became available for that, and we want to do that. And why would we want to do that? Well, not only would we want to do that to protect and add an additional layer of protection to these properties, but also incentivize them. If they're within the National Register of Historic Places, some of these buildings would be eligible for federal and state tax credits, homes and businesses. So if you think about some of the empty vacant storefronts in South Tipton, some of those could be injected with the same bit of economic development incentives that downtown has. Create a team, partnering with tourism. We're working on talking about a project that would include possible gateway signage from 82 and into the historic district. Partnering with the library. The library is a wonderful partner for us. She's always looking out for us with grants and all different kinds of ways that she can help us. So I mentioned the downtown speaker systems before, and she was working on a Wi-Fi grant for us downtown, which would be half of the cost, really, of the downtown speaker system to pump music into downtown. So, those teams and those partners, engaging key stakeholders, programs for downtown, working with small business administration on recruiting some of those entrepreneurs. The next concept is promotion. Don't read that because Main Street people are always busy and answering the phone. So that is the incorrect description there. But marketing, we all know what promotion means. We're cheerleaders for our downtown businesses and the downtown area. So we are always marketing and defining our assets and hosting events such as Second Saturday with the logo there. Hillary is here. That is a big role of hers. Last year, the Development Authority contributed $10,000 for festival support, fireworks, and live entertainment. Some of our goals for this year include rebranding, new pole banners, and new swag. Economic vitality. This is where you want to focus on those capitals and incentives and other economic and financial tools to assist new and existing businesses, catalyze property development, and create a supportive environment for entrepreneurs and innovators that drive local economies. So there are some numbers there. The Development Authority gave out $50,000 last year in facade grant and spent $223,284 in jointly funded projects with the City of Tifton that included Main Lane, and paying for the engineering concept for Commerce Way, which is a big project that will be extremely transformational for downtown. Really excited about that. The property owners are very excited about that. The businesses are also excited. They know that it will be a lot of work and there will be days where the roads will be, closed, but they're really excited about that. And our office is the hub for information and downtown investing and incentives. If someone comes to our office, we provide a worksheet for them that lets them know which boundaries, which areas that they are in, to include state and historic tax credit information, as well as state revolving loan funds, enterprise and opportunity zone. So they look to us to kind of guide them, and we lead them to the SBA if they need some help with creating a business plan. We lead them to property owners, realtors, all those things. I wanted to include those two pictures there because they are very transformational photographs. You can see in 2019 compared to 2023 there, the corner has changed. And seen a lot of investment there on that one particular corner with the 3 projects that the Nixons were able to complete. But not only that, across the street you have Stafford Development, who purchased property from the Development Authority, bringing jobs into downtown Tifton. So you have their injection into economic vitality in downtown, as well as a potential project on the corner of Commerce Way and 82 that we're getting ready to announce, so stay tuned for that. And the next slide are our downtown Tifton numbers that I'm very proud of. There were 3 completed historic tax credit projects last year, 12 facade grants, 40 promotional events, 26 new jobs, 18 public improvement projects, $756,900 in building rehabs, 4 Airbnb units, over 1,000 hours of volunteers in downtown, and then four large rehab projects contributing to a private-public investment in downtown of over $2.5 million. Since 2019, since I've been here, there has been $14 million of private-public partnership in downtown, something I'm very proud of. The largest number of investment was actually 2020, seeing $6.7 million. And again, these numbers are collected each month by the state, where we turn in and keep data and information. So very excited that we are able to contribute those numbers. Any questions?
No, just keep doing the good work.
Oh, thank
Keep on
you.
going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hillary, do you have anything you want to add, or you're good? She says no. I'm good. Okay. Thank you for that update, for that report. All right, moving along to new business. The first item under new business is discussion of a request from the Downtown Development Authority and the Tifton Heritage Foundation for abandonment of a little street between Forest Avenue and Fullwood Boulevard for the installation of a historic district signage. Emily, you want to address that?
Yes, I will. Brenda Carls with the Downtown Development Authority, who is also part of the Tifton Heritage Foundation. They have a group that has come to the city and asked us to abandon a small cut-through road between Fullwood Boulevard and Forest Avenue. In your agenda packet, you'll see on the second page of that section, the little road that we're referring to. You can see there's a small island in the middle. They are unable to put any signage there due to DOT right-of-way obstruction of view. So, okay.
We can't get,
No,
we don't have
we
our,
can't.
Waiting on,
The
Oh,
screen,
you don't have your packets?
waiting on.
the screen is still on.
Waiting on
the-
Mr.
on the-
Hobby.
on the-
Mine's working.
no?
No?
Would you like me to show you an illustration?
Well,
Y'all can look on my screen. when you do.
yeah, we know what it looks
Yeah.
like. We just can't get back to our
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah, it's still on the presentation.
Uh-oh.
Reboot.
But this small piece of property does, what they are wanting to do is do away with the road in the middle. They want to, y'all good? That second page is what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. They want to take that island and actually butt it up to the property on the southmost part of it, which is the Webster's residence. In your package, you'll also see that there are letters of support from Mr. and Ms. Webster who would have the most impact of this. But with butting up to the property, they would landscape it, an in-kind donation from the city. We would run an irrigation line for the landscaping. And then you will see an example of the signage that they are wishing to do. The city would not have any funds in this other than an in-kind donation to run an irrigation line, and they have already started working with an engineer who has already been out to do markings or whatever they need to do. So they're just asking us for permission for if we'll abandon the road to them.
What about, do we need, with that being Highway 41, does DOT need to be involved in any way to?
At some point, yes, since
Okay.
they're working with an engineer who is very familiar
Yeah.
with that, I would assume that
Okay,
they
they'll take care of
understand.
that, then, okay. Okay. All right, any,
I guess,
So the sign is just gonna be, two-tier sign or one sign?
Yes, it will be a double-sided sign, and it would say, you know,
You can
welcome
see
to
it
the
from-
historic district. Yes, it will. They're wanting to draw attention when you come into those boundaries is what they're wanting.
my only concern, and that's a difficult intersection as it is. I've witnessed a wreck there, and you've got both roads coming in. I wonder how many people would come off of Forest to then turn and go down Fullwood, and vice versa, because that's
Can I
dangerous.
interject what
Yes.
what the statute says about abandoning a road?
Yes.
This, you know, the same rules apply to a county and a city. There's one section of the statute that talks about a county, the other one is the city. And it says, when it is determined that a section of the municipal street system has for any reason ceased to be used by the public to the extent that no substantial public purpose is served by it, or that its removal from the municipal street system is otherwise in the best public interest, the municipality may abandon the road. So according to the statute, in some of the case law, what you're looking at is whether or not that road is, ceased to be used to the extent that no substantial public purpose is served by it. So that's one of the questions. And the statute was revised in 2010, where it added, or that its removal from the municipal street system is otherwise in the best public interest. I don't know that I've seen any case law on that new provision relative to whether or not it's in the best public interest. Generally, there was a recent decision from the Georgia Supreme Court back in 2013, and that's where the county abandoned the road. It was no longer being used. It basically had deteriorated. It was a dead end. It was determined that it would cost about $600,000 to bring it up to speed, so to speak. And so actually the trial court issued a mandamus that they couldn't close the road. The Supreme Court reversed that, saying the county commission and the governing authority has the discretion to abandon a road, utilizing, their discretion, as long as it's, not arbitrary and capricious. So just wanted to make you aware that you got to look at, what the law is, see whether or not this road is no longer, used for public purposes or, used as a road, or if it's in the best public interest to abandon the road. So there are some limitations when you can abandon a road.
Emily, do we know how it's gonna be laid out? Do you know the actual layout, finishing product of what they're proposing?
No, I don't. The only thing I have is a rendering of the sign. I don't have anything with their landscape or a rendering of what it will look like when they're finished.
I mean, the question is whether people use the road. I go down there quite often, and I have used it, but before my concern is if you come from Forest to then turn down Fullwood, or from Fullwood to try to turn down Forest, you got a short little strip there. There's blind spots to begin with. Like I say, I was there a couple of months ago when a car tried to pull out and somebody caught the rear end of them and that kind of thing. So I understand why they want to put a sign. Is putting a sign there outweigh what, I don't know.
I'd just be curious to see the final product.
Yeah.
What the what's the,
Yeah, how
what
is
will
it
the
laid out?
final proposal be? So, and I guess they can carry forth and continue working on that without any action on this, from this body at this point.
I think that, I'm not sure if the answer is going to be no. I'm not sure they would want to waste those funds to
Yeah.
have somebody draw that up.
Gotcha, okay. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So, I mean, just back to what Rod was saying about abandoning the road, I guess, do you look at other options if you don't abandon the road or can't abandon the road? Because it's still usage, is it a number count? What are the details of?
Well, basically, as the statute says, it says, if it for any reason cease to be used by the public to the extent that no substantial public purpose is served.
Okay.
So the question is, I guess the folks use the road. I don't, every day I go home from work, I go to that intersection. I can't say that I remember how often it's used, but does it have no substantial public purpose?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that, as I mentioned in the statute, it also provides that the removal from the municipal street system is otherwise in the best public interest. I've read cases, years ago we dealt with the hospital, 18th Street, to abandon that road. And initially, we told the hospital that, we could not abandon the road because it was being utilized by businesses and what have you. They later on, years later, came back and redesigned the hospital, John Orr Drive, and made some other roadways that then made it okay, and we agreed to then make those changes on 18th Street. So You know, I don't know when it talks about is otherwise in the best public interest. It's kind of a vague criteria, and I can look at that to see if there's any cases that talk about that part of the statute. So, you know, again, that's kind of up to your discretion, but you do have these parameters under the statute that you're going to have to justify, I guess, to show that, you know, there was a public interest or that the street is really not serving the public any longer.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how they would make that turn, I guess. Or if you gonna make a turn back that way, or is it just gonna send you down 41 if you're going left?
There'd be no turn.
Yeah, you pull out on 12, just cut back.
You go to 12th, and if you want to turn on Fullwood, then you take a left right there. Or vice versa, if you come off Fullwood, they both dead end into 41.
Okay.
Which, that, to me, could be a problem, but that's.
Problematic.
Okay. Okay, well, let's let them know the concerns and see how they want to proceed on that, so.
And that's the only thing they did a study on, I guess, just taking that from that piece of property. Did they look at any other options to be able to put a sign there? Like I don't
They
know.
couldn't on the island.
They could not do that on the island, even if they did like,
They're not gonna let them do that.
okay,
Yeah, you couldn't see.
yeah, even,
Diddley squat.
we want to talk about roundabouts, but yeah.
Right. That's almost a prime spot for a roundabout. We've
Yeah.
got the perfect like roundabout.
They didn't say anything about a roundabout?
I'm sorry?
A study of a roundabout with a sign in the middle?
A roundabout would probably eliminate the sign,
Would.
but it would be safer there than what we got.
Okay, well, let's let them continue to work on their project. We'll mull it
Roundabouts
over
with
and
signs.
see what we need to do. All right, moving along, next item is review of proposals for the water wastewater rate study. Jeff?
Good evening. Back in probably December, January, we started talking about rates and we increased them some, and we sat down and talked, Emily and Jonathan and I, and met with a couple of different companies about doing a serious rate study with full cost connection and rate study to see where we're at. We know we're probably some of the lowest rates in the study, but we want to be able to give y'all exact data from somebody that does this every day, and we met with two different companies. What they'll do is they'll come in and they'll take the last 5 years, and the overall goal is to be able to tell us how we need to increase the rates over the next 3 to 4 years to make sure we maintain a positive fund balance in all of our water and sewer. So we met with two different companies, one Nelsnick Enterprises and the other was Riper Water Analytics. I've seen the work of both. We talked to both. They're apples and apples as far as what we've asked for. Riper actually done one here about when I first come here 7 years ago. But the prices were the biggest difference. Nelsnick said that they can do it, water and sewer both, for not to exceed 25,000. Riper was, their best estimate was 43,000. So our recommendation is to go with Nelsnick. I've seen the work they've done in Opelika, Alabama. They come back with some very good information. And the goal is to give y'all something that's reliable, and when people start asking you why we're going up on rates, that you can actually show them the real reason why we are.
First, people don't care. All they know is the rate went up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we've heard that, but I guess I wonder, what do we think is gonna come of this? I mean, as far as city residents, I can tell you, I, for one, not voting for a rate increase for a good while after this one we just had, and we caught all kind of, people's bills went up. Because we did have data, 15 surrounding communities, and when we did this rate increase there, we ended up about midway. And so, I mean, we just went up. I question, do we need it now versus, wait a year or two, because I don't know if any of y'all might want to be different, but I'm not voting for a rate increase with the city residents, and we have to keep them equal.
It's more than a rate increase. This company looks at our tap fees. We did increase those last year, but we still know that that wasn't enough. This would be our playing ball field for the coming years. It's gonna forecast us out for 5 years. This is your coming expenses. This is what you've got. So we can accurately make sound decisions on increasing rates, or maybe it's not even increasing rates, it's increasing tap fees or whatever it may be that would come into play with this. But we need hard, fast, professional numbers to be able to stay in line and forecast appropriately for what the system's gonna need.
Okay, I mean, well, we had hard, fast numbers, again, from the surrounding communities, whether it be water or whether it be sewer. And so we knew where we failed. And so, I don't know how long it takes for this study, I didn't need to see what the length of time, but my concern is then the data is gonna be out of date unless we plan on doing something here in the next, 6 or 8 months, and I don't know how well that'd go over after we just raised them a considerable amount of money.
We're not looking to study to raise water rates. We're looking at the study to make sure that we're forecasting appropriately to maintain a system that we have for the expenditures that we would have going into it.
And when was the last time we did this? Do you remember?
2017.
17, okay.
Mhm.
And Jeff, is there any recommendation on how frequently you should have these studies done? Okay, so that's where we are then, okay.
Yeah, right in between.
Okay,
But when you do the study, I guess, once I can appreciate the study, and it is to determine where your rates are. I mean, you don't do a rate study unless you want to see, do you want to raise the rates or not? And had we not raised them as much as we raised them to equalize them with the county because we got forced into it, I just question the timing of why we wouldn't wait till the time that, okay, maybe it is time to raise everybody's rate. And I don't see that happening for a year. I don't know, it's one thing to go up, but I usually, a year later, you might want to think about going up and then do the rate study and say, okay, what's it look like going forward?
well, let me ask a question. Rob, I don't know if this is a Jeff question or a Rob question. We have the Georgia Municipal Group here, and I was talking with several other council members and mayors from other communities, and one of the things we were talking about was water and sewer rates, and, they were asking questions about, the lawsuit and different things like that. And one of the comments that was made was that there was a city that did a rate increase, but they tied it to the CPI, and they went ahead and approved a minimal rate increase like every 2 years with a minimum and then a maximum tied to CPI. Can we do something like that? I'm just curious. I'm not saying that's what we're going to do, but I'm just curious. And would something like this help us to determine when we can do small incremental increases? Because where we got into such a tight with this last rate increase, it had been so long
Like 10 years.
that we had made any changes to the fees, that the change that we had to make was significant. Had we just done little incremental changes. So my question is, can we plan for those type of increases that are tied to a very specific index with a minimum and maximum, so that it's never going to be more than X amount of dollars, but at least it's going to be Y amount of dollars? Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm asking?
Yeah, I understand. Basically, when you set water rates, they just can't be arbitrary and
Right.
capricious. So I don't know that an automatic increase just tied to CPI, would say, okay, we've had increased costs.
Right.
I mean, certainly tying increases to the CPI is pretty common,
Yeah.
in contracts.
Right.
I just don't know in the nature of the utilities, could you just have an automatic increase without some type of showing that there's, increased costs?
And I guess, and we didn't get into that level of the discussion. I guess that would be the flip side, is you'd have to substantiate what you're doing. But at least you had that recommendation. So I'm wondering, regardless of when we do the rate study, if the rate study could help us determine how do we do those minute increases that aren't so painful to the consumer, including all of us, so that we are able to keep our fund balance positive, but at the same time recognizing that everything's increasing in price. The system, is aging each day. We're expanding, we're growing. The city is, we have a higher population today than we had 10 years ago, and those people need those services.
Well, and it's more than just the operating. I mean, to justify the number of, and when we're funding infrastructure, whether it be through grants,
Right.
and it's certainly not, or SPOS money. It's not being, and so we should always, we could go up $1 a year or whatever, and you can always justify that because it has to fund the infrastructure improvements. It's got to be, the justification has to be for more than just what's it cost for the people working, the operating. So to me, we should try to put something in there, so that it's automatic. And it can either go through operating or it goes through on the infrastructure. Now, you should always be able to justify that.
But my question is, would this rate study give us the
That-
material that we need to determine how to set that up and to do that?
That's what we're hoping to get out of it. Where do we
Okay.
need to be in 5 years to keep up with where we're at now and the increases that we see for as materials and everything over the next 5 years?
Because I'm sure they'll
It's gonna give
factor
us a
in
projection.
what the current rates are, with this recent increase on city residents, so.
And the study that was done in 2017, wrapping my memory, I believe it does give you scenarios. This is where you are now. In 5 years, your projected cost is this is our recommendation of, a percentage increase each year, whatever it may be.
And will they take into account growth and
Yeah.
potential annexation and things like that? All that's factored in.
Well, one of the things that we've been dealing with is our capital fund. And, we've always relied on SPOS dollars mostly in order to make water and wastewater improvements. And, you don't know if SPOS is gonna be there or not.
Right.
So I guess what Jeff is saying is that when we look at this study, we can not only project rises in costs, but also look at what our infrastructure improvements and needs will be over a period of time, and then be able to utilize the fees to make that infrastructure improvements rather than relying on SPOS.
Right. Any thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, definitely understand the point of it. I get Jack's point of view as well. But overall, we need a forecast. So, when would this start for? What time period would they be looking at?
Approved, I'd have to get with them. I think they would start within a month or so, and I
that
think this is
fast.
gonna be at least a 6-7 month process, going through everything detailed. It's not gonna be a quick process.
If that's the case, close to a
Yeah.
year from now, that
Then-
was my only point.
yeah.
If we had about a year from now, where do we go forward kind of
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, it's not gonna be.
That's what,
Not 60 days, it's.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but God,
Yeah.
that was
Okay.
my
Yeah.
whole point. And is this something that's justified to be paid for out of the enterprise fund, I assume?
Enterprise fund?
And we can split it between water and sewer, because half of it's water and half of it's sewer.
It will come out of the appropriate enterprise.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Well,
Does that
that
make you feel
time,
better?
that time frame.
I think that cleared everything up then.
Yep, okay. All right, any other questions? Thank you for presenting that, Jeff. All right, next on the agenda is a request to purchase our articulating off-road dump truck for the Tifton-Tift County landfill. Our quasi-IT director, Ricky Hobby.
I think I did a little brief explanation there in your package, but this is a 2013 truck that we have now. It's got over 10,000 hours on it. It's, the cost of the maintenance went out the roof. I think I put in there, it's even worse than what I put there now, because we've got.
$97,000.
Maintenance?
Yeah.
And it's another 30,000 coming real quick with the pumps that we have to replace on it. So I think the best investment of the city's money would be moved towards a purchase of a new one. And we're looking at the same brand, same company that we bought this previous one from. And they're on a Sourcewell contract, as is the other two, I guess you'd say local vendors that are within the area that we work. They also have the prices on there, and Ascendum had the best price, or Volvo had the best price by several $1,000s. Plus, they said they would give me the truck early and give me a 60-day turn with no charges during that 60-day. So when we're looking at a July 1 in the next budget, pay period to write them a check.
And I see you noted SPLOST will cover.
Splosh will cover the funds.
And speaking of SPLOST, is this city-only SPLOST? Do we have, and I'm not sure. So it's not, it's just city SPLOST money? How does that work with the landfill, which I think it is joint enterprise? I mean, how are we spending, we have to spend this kind of money out of SPLOST money that we can use for the city on something that's for a joint enterprise?
Do you want to haul dirt? That's all I know to
I
tell
don't
you.
want to haul dirt, but I'm tired of the county getting off scot-free.
That's-
Have we
that's-
discussed with them
you know,
to split it?
That's neither here or there with me. I'm presenting to you, I need equipment.
Yeah,
And I don't
To
doubt
make the
that.
business work, I got to have the equipment.
I hear you,
That-
and I would ask the city manager to talk to the
I believe,
county manager
I believe
and
it's
say,
already been discussed with you.
I can go back and ask, if they want to split it 50/50. I can't guarantee they will or not. What I do know is that Ricky needs a truck, because we're paying him.
No, quite, we're gonna get it.
Yeah.
It's the paying, but I mean, we need to, it's not right for the city. And so we've got to, sooner or later, we got to throw the gauntlet down, and I don't know how we do that. But for us to use city SPLOST funds, and we could use something else that benefits just the city for this, and they won't split it, Rob, you'll have to tell us how to handle that and what we can do. I'm all for getting him the truck, get it tomorrow. And we got to figure out what we can do with the county to force this issue, because that's just not right. The city residents are being shortchanged, and it's up to us to stand up and say, wait a minute.
but you'll follow up with Mr. Carter? All right, do I need to make a call to Chairman McBrayer? Okay,
I'll take care of it.
Okay.
And as the contract reads, with the landfill, if we were to get a divorce, anything that's in there would be, split 50/50 and how it would be. I don't know how you would do that, but.
Square one.
Let's split it 50/50 after we paid 100%. Don't think about that.
okay, follow up, if you don't mind, follow up and just let us know. All right, thank you, Ricky. All right, our next item is a request to purchase Axon body-worn cameras and in-car cameras for the police department. Chief Hyman?
Yes, ma'am. We are trying to upgrade our body cameras and in-car cameras. What we've done is we've checked, and we're want to go into a 5-year lease with Axon, and it's $115,618 a year, come to a total of $578,091. This includes all the needed hardware, software. One of the main things is it includes the evidence.com, because all this will be in the cloud. It'll be stored in the cloud, and it's going to make it easier for us to share with the DA's office and other courts when they have to have the video, and then also when we're working cases and citizens have video of different things, because everybody's video system has a different software or something, and trying to get a converter for this or converter for that. This here will convert it all in there and it's stored online. We'll be able to send it. And also the body cameras that we have now are over 7 years old. I mean, it's a 2-piece. We're talking about going to a 1-piece. Also, these cameras are going to have the ability, before our contract is up, is where I could possibly sit at my desk and see what's going on with that officer on the street. And then the in-car cameras that we're looking at, it's going to be $23,000 a year for the next 5-year contract with them, a total of $125,000. And what we're looking at there is 8 cameras, and then these cameras are a little bit different from the ones we got now, because one, they're gonna go into the cloud, but they'll be in that same software, but they have the license plate readers inside the cameras. And with these cameras, you know, it's like with some of the cameras we got now, all the officers get on certain streets, all the officers get alerts to let them know that their car just went by that's stolen, or child molesters driving it, and, you know, different things like that. So we're upgrading, and at the same time, a lot of the cameras that we got now are tearing up here and there, and the company we have now are no longer wants to warranty it because they want us to move into their next new one. But the reason I didn't want to go with this present company is because I wanted everything to go into one system. I don't want 2 or 3 different softwares and this and that, just go into one. So we're asking that we be able to go in with Axon, which also is a part of the state contract. So this will be over the next 5 years. And the good thing about the cameras, the body cameras are about in 20, let's see, we're gonna start, if we start in 23, it'll be about 27, they'll refresh our body cameras for us. And that means they'll do us some more cameras. And if it's a newer model or better grade, then we get that. That's what we get.
Okay.
So because it's state contract, we don't have to get another, we're okay with the price of the bid kind of thing?
There's, you know, we looked at that issue about sole sourcing, and because from what Steve is saying is that, you know, we just want Axon to have the whole shooting match, and the other company does not provide.
The LPRs inside the cameras.
So I felt that, you know, this could be just a sole source because we want to have this one package deal. I have reviewed the contract, and I have sent an email to Axon representative relative to the term of the contract that I think it needs some work. I also did not like the limitation of damages in the contract, so they have passed that along to their legal team, and I'm waiting to hear back on those 2 issues.
Okay. Are there any questions, gentlemen?
Yeah, for myself, I just wanted to see, can we get more information on the functionality of the body cameras? Is that possible?
I can get you the
All right. That's
I
what
can
I'm
get that
really
for y'all.
interested in that, especially the external part of it where you're saying you'll be able to possibly view it external. I just want to see if there's any possibility of control-wise external.
when you say,
Meaning you'll be able to turn it on and off external.
talking about the officer?
Yeah, well, not the officer, just in general, you're saying you'll be able to view it from external?
What I'm saying is, I'm sitting in my office.
Right.
And the officer is out on a call,
Right.
I'll be able to look and see what they're doing, what's going on. Just
Okay.
sort of a little check-in, you know, not saying they're doing anything wrong, but, you
Right,
know,
yeah.
just a
Okay.
little check-in and know, and then it
But
also
they would
helps
have to have it turned on, or it would be on automatic.
Right. Well, we have to turn them on now when we get out,
All right.
unless, and then that's another functionality that one has too, with the tasers. And that one also, when the taser is pulled out to be deployed, it automatically turns that camera on.
Okay, I got you.
I mean, I can get y'all all of that, so y'all can see what all it does and what the functionality is.
All right, that's it. Appreciate it.
I think just cost-wise, warranties and stuff like that, which we don't have on these. And then when one tears up, you just about got to buy another one for $800 to $900 of the present one we got, so.
Well, we all know technology changes by the hour, so having the latest and best
Yeah,
technology
makes
for our
sense.
police department is absolutely, I think, what this council wants to do, so. Steve, you want to go ahead and talk about the resolution for the agreement with Tift County Schools for the school resource officers?
Yes,
Matter of fact,
ma'am.
you've got several things. You just get comfortable up there.
Okay, well, we do the school contract every year. We renew it every year. And this year, we did make a few changes in it ourselves. And then Mr. Wilmot has looked over it, and then he made some suggestions for some changes. And we got through with it, and then I took it to the board office last week, and I gave it to them, in which the superintendent and the school board will look over it, and then their staff, and see if they see anything or anything pops out at them. If they do, then they'll contact me back, and I think Ms. Beeman and I can look at it. We have a good working relationship with the school, so I think we'll be able to accommodate them, and they'll accommodate us. I don't think there'll be an issue there.
Okay.
But this contract is for 5 school resource officers and their salary and benefits while working at the school. One of the things that we've done differently or requesting differently is that they're at the officers at the school for 180 days. So those 180 days that they're at the school will pay 100% of their salary and benefits and everything. And then the days that school are out, the officers come back, and then we have different assignments for them. During the summer, we have different assignments for them. So then we will pick up everything on that end.
Okay.
And what we're looking at with Larry's magic calculator, it's going to be $237,618 is what the school will pay, unless they're. And then right now, we currently have 3 positions open as school resource officers, so we're trying to work to get those, and we'll work extra hard between now and when school goes back in.
Okay. All right, any questions, comments? It's kind of typical of what we do each year, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to go ahead and talk about the amended agreement with professional court services?
No, I'm going to let Rob talk about
Okay.
that, because that takes a professional.
Okay.
I got a message from Darian Teals a couple of weeks ago relative to the agreement, and evidently, according to the Department of Corrections, the agreement did not comply with their rule. Evidently, you can have a contract renewal every year, but you can't have it longer than 5 years.
Okay.
So at the expiration of 5 years, then you're going to have to renew the contract. So basically, the new contract just renews from January 1 for the years 2024, 25, 26, and 27, and then it will expire December 31st, 2027. Then at that point, we'd need to enter into a new agreement.
Gotcha.
So that's the only change, is just put this in compliance with their rule.
Okay. All right, does that make sense to everybody? Everybody good? Okay. All right, Steve, you want to talk about the jail inmate agreement with Tift County?
Ma'am, this year, I mean, in October of 2020 is when we signed our last agreement with the jail, and it carries over each year unless there's some change. And this year, they've talked to us, and we're currently at $55 per day, and they're gonna. They talked to me earlier in the year and said they were gonna probably have to go to 65 because of increases in their prison medical, their food services, incidentals. I mean, just the cost of housing prisoners. And then after they got back with us last month, and they told us that it would actually be $63.25 instead of the $65. That's a $8 increase. And then after looking at it and all that, and I'm see where they're at, and then I think we should go ahead on and sign the contract. Mr. Wilmot has looked over it. He had some questions, but then I think I've explained them to him where he understood them, but there's just, but I don't see where we need to do anything else. I think we can go ahead on and pass it through to y'all.
Okay.
They got us over a barrel anyway, Chief, huh? I mean, before the 55, if you recall, Mayor, over there at 40-something, and you were in, and then at 55. Emily, remind us how this pay, if they go in at 10 o'clock at night, kind of, remind us how that works.
Chief, explain to them if they're.
The day starts over at 12 at night, 12 a.m. at night.
So if they go in at 10 o'clock at night, that's a day.
Yes, sir.
They get out at 7 o'clock the next morning, we paid 2 days.
Yeah,
That's absurd.
yeah.
That's outrageous. Now, what you do about it, I don't know. But we used to get, 4 hours free or something. The sheriff did away with that. Now the sheriff's going up. But to pay for 2 days and they might be there 7 hours? That's not a case of food being too high or all this. That's a case of just. That's my point is they got us over a barrel. I'm just thinking what's fair and what's not fair. And so city residents need to be aware of what we're paying and how we're paying it and who we're paying it to. And it's not fair to a city resident to pay that kind of money I mean, that's crazy. I thought we paid the medical. We've got a line in our budget for prisoner medical. So is that when they're not at the jail we pay for prisoner medical, or do they charge us directly?
That includes when they're at the jail, the nurse will see them, and then if the nurse said they need to go to the doctor or to the hospital, then that's where we pick up, as long as they're city prisoners.
So all we're doing is paying for a nurse to look at them when they say that's a reason for the cost to go up. Anyway, y'all get my drift.
And a city prisoner is anybody who is arrested within the city limits regardless of their address, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And if we arrest them and they're going to city court, or they've been sentenced by our city court. Now, we've been working pretty good with that, and we've been trying to balance the cost. I've been looking at it myself personally, each day. I mean, I look to see who's in jail, why they in jail, and that. And then if it's somebody that can't make bond but need to be bonded out, then we make provisions for that. Then a lot of our calls comes from people that's been sentenced. Like in municipal court, you get sentenced, but then the court is doing what they can do and within their boundaries to make sure that these people don't hit the streets to violate people or get in fights and do different things. The officers doing what they can to keep them out, and it's a juggling match. You're constantly juggling the whole system, and that juggling goes on every day. We understand the cost, but at the same time, people want to sleep at night or want to be able to walk the streets or go somewhere and not be.
But be clear, I'm not blaming the police or arresting people or that kind of thing. It's the cost. We want the police to take people off the streets, period. Realizing too, if they go under a state ordinance, we don't pay. This is only if they violated a city ordinance and went through city court. Some major crime that's gone under state, that's out of the city's purview. We don't pay for that. So, but we don't want to stop arresting people for doing something wrong because of the cost. I'm just saying the way the cost is calculated is not fair.
Yeah, but then
Which you can't control. I'm not saying
you
can control.
Valdosta's paying $80 a day.
We are very.
I know,
Okay.
but
I hear you.
That doesn't make me feel any better.
I feel Chief does a really, really good job at working with the county and finding that happy medium and being told no, but finding an outlet to, you know, maybe it's community service or work or whatever it may be. He does a really, really good job at balancing that. We are no different than any other community that's paying that cost.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Any other
Chief.
questions, gentlemen, or comments?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, Crystal, you've got the next couple of items. One is the resolution adopting the 2023 to 2028 comprehensive plan update.
Short and sweet for you, DCA has reviewed our draft comprehensive plan, so we resolved, or you all resolved, to send it to the regional commission for them to do a completeness check, for them to send it to DCA. DCA has reviewed it. They came back with some suggestions, not substantial in nature. A couple of those were, there were 3 suggestions, but they wanted to see a little more specificity in the community work program. So instead of Fullwood Park improvements, they want to know some more specific improvements. So we could change Fullwood Park improvements to increase security at Fullwood Park, add cameras to Fullwood Park, beautify Fullwood Park by adding landscaping to the northern border. I'm shooting from the hip here. But it could be playground updates. It could be increased frequency of trash pickup. It could be anything. But that's really the level of detail that they want to see. They want to see achievable goals and achievable line items. And so Fullwood Park improvement seems, well, it seems kind of this big, right? And they want to see things in, you know, doable tasks. And so we'd recommend break those things out. Another one was building improvements. Okay, well, they want specific buildings, like to the fire station on Tift Avenue. They want to see really just more specifics. However, those were recommendations. So the plan can be adopted as is, no changes whatsoever, or we can update these few little line item things. So I'll really take your direction on if we want to update these things. I can have them updated and ready for you to adopt at the council meeting, or we can leave it as is and keep going. Just whatever you recommend.
If DCA has made the recommendation, my thought is let's follow the recommendation of DCA. Everything we do somehow or another seems to funnel through DC Department of Community Affairs. So making sure that they have what they need and that we're as in tune with what their requests and needs are, I think would be good. So if we could update those with their recommendations, I think would be the right thing.
Especially since it's nothing major.
Yeah,
No, nothing
yeah, it's interesting. SPLOST is, you know, I guess we were thinking from the SPLOST standpoint with these projects, and now they're wanting very specific. So it's just interesting how they're opposite of each other. So, okay. All right. Any other questions on or comments on the comp plan? All right, Crystal, what about authorizing submission of a funding application to the Land and Water Conservation Fund?
Yes, so the Georgia Department of Natural Resources puts out a really great funding opportunity. It's called the Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant. And so what it is it really incentivizes local governments to make more recreation opportunities with lands that were, you know, in years past, quickly going to development, whether that was residential or commercial. And so this was a way for them to incentivize preserving these lands, conserving these lands, and making more recreational opportunities at the same time. So we would like to seek $250,000 from the Land and Water Conservation Fund. That would in turn mean that we have to put up $250,000. This is a dollar for dollar match. So we would seek $250,000, we would put in $250,000 for a project cost of $500,000 to be able to do inclusive playground equipment. So I refer to these as, you know, we have 2 sets of playground equipment out there, but we have the plastic set and we have the wood set, and I know it's probably not the best technical terms or how to refer to them, but it's really how I've gotten by. But this would be to replace the plastic set. So it's got some issues now. There are cracks in the slides. It's getting increasingly hard to get parts. The equipment's really old and it's just become hard to maintain at this point. So this would be to completely remove the current set and to replace it with inclusive playground equipment. So this would be the rubber tile surface that would be traversable by a wheelchair, somebody with crutches, anybody that just has mobility issues, it's much better that way. It's also much easier on the city in terms of maintenance. It's not constant mulch. It's not finding things in the mulch. It's really just a safer and more long-term alternative. This would also mean not just physical disabilities, it would be learning disabilities and sensory play equipment. So lots of kids like to go out there, like Abby mentioned, they like to, I don't know what it's called, but it's the thing where you drag it and it makes a whole lot of noise. But they like the drums, they like the one that sings from one side to the other, where you can put your ear to one side and hear it from the other. So it would really just be including, you know, learning disabilities, sensory disabilities, physical disabilities, all in one play set. And this would be to for kids of all ages, so from the little kids at 2 years old up to the bigger kids at 12 years old, kind of be for all kids really. Would have play swing sets. It would have a tandem swing set, you know, a mommy and kid or daddy and kid swing set where they can swing on the same one together. It would have the special needs, the swing set that has the full vest to it. So if they have limited upwards mobility, it would help with that. But overall, it would just be a great project. The application is due on May 31st. This is a pre-application, so it's really just that, it's a really short application. It's that initial weeding out process. So it is the, you know what, your project's not what we're looking for, you're not gonna advance to the next round, or hey, this is exactly what we're looking for. Go ahead and put forth the extra money and time and put in the next application. So this is for the long haul here. Second level applications would be due in February of next year. So we'll put in our first level, we'll find out if it's funded or if it's fundable or not, and then we'll be asked to put in another one in February. So this would be something that wouldn't really be coming out of this year's budget, it'd be coming out of next year's budget in the event that we were funded. So great project, but this would be the resolution to commit the $250,000 for match. And we currently have an RFP out. The proposals are due on May 19th. So at that time, we will get we're hopeful for a bunch of designs. We've asked for themed playground equipment. So under the sea, safari, out in space, lots of colors, lots of themes, and really excited to see what we're gonna get back. So fingers crossed that we get a bunch of installers with just really out there ideas.
Do you need letters of support for your pre-application?
Not for the pre-application.
Okay.
So that will be with the second level application,
Okay.
but we will need a lot of them.
Okay.
So that the people at the state who don't live in Tifton, who don't understand that if you have a child that has physical or sensory disabilities, you got to go to Valdosta.
Right.
That's your closest one. And that's really just not a daily, you know, usage. That's more like let's plan by the weeks to be able to take our kids to be outside and play. And that's just really not what we want to be here in Tifton. We want to be where all kids can play together, and that can be a quick afternoon trip, not so much a let's plan for 2 weeks to be able to take our kids to play outside. So
Exactly. Okay, any comments for Crystal concerning that project? Very worthwhile project. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you, Crystal.
All right, next item would be Jeff West to talk about the resolution approving the Transportation Investment Act agreements for local project delivery. So Jeff?
Me again. About a month ago, talked with Emily and we went to the DOT and filled out an application for us to be able to do all the project delivery for these TIA projects. I don't know if y'all all realize when we first done the first 2 TIAs, the state told us all that they didn't get paid any of the money out of there. Emily's got the actual numbers that they've been paid out of that. 2nd Street was the first project we done, and we put in originally to do all the utilities on that street. Somehow it wasn't in there. We did end up getting 100,000 out of them to do the really bad stuff before it was done, so that was a good thing. 8th Street out there, I had another problem as of today. it's all supposed to be managed by the DOT. You know, they designed it, everything. Well, today I got a call from the contractor, there's 8 water lines that need to be moved that nobody knew about. You go back and look on the plans, it shows them. DOT says they're not paying for it. It's not coming out of that money, so I got to figure out either we're gonna have to go move them, and I hadn't even had a chance to tell Emily about this yet. I got the call this afternoon, but that's another reason we need to be able to manage these projects ourselves to where if that is an issue, that we can handle it internally and it will be paid for out of the funds given to it, well, that we've got out of TIA. And with this, that's what it'll give us the opportunity to do. We'll do the design, everything of the 3 remaining projects of this band.
We would work with Stacy Watkins on this. He is a lot of help to the city and a partner to the city, being able to do these. He also has all his certifications to do DOT administration. Jessica would have to go through a class. It's expired, but she'd have to go through a class to be able to get the funds basically to submit. I think it is a very smart move to administer this on our own. Looking at the information on the South Georgia Regional Commission website, as far as TIA and GDOT goes, there was about $18 million that went, towards other funding. That's funds that we could use here to self-administer this if we wanted to do so.
Okay.
What's that McCormick Drive widening? What?
That is out there, and there's part of it in the city and part of it in the county.
That's what I was.
The money was funded through the city and the county for the city's project to do the whole road. I think it's like, I hate to quote, I'm thinking it's like $1.8 million or something.
McCormick Drive was 3.5 million.
3.5,
Yeah. So, isn't that the one that, does that run next to,
Waffle House, between
Prince.
Waffle House and Prince.
Prince, of which Prince is not in the city?
Yeah.
Is that Waffle House?
Yeah.
Is that side in the city? That's not
No.
the city either?
You sure?
So is anything,
The only part of the road,
Yeah,
She would know.
okay.
the only part of the road that is in the city is a 50 to 60 foot section at the end of Boo Drive.
Boo Drive is by the Hilton.
and so we're paying $3.7 million for that?
No,
Well,
we're
the
not.
we're not, the TIA.
This is
Coming
TIA
from-
funds.
This is
right?
a
It's
TIA
Regional
project.
point of sale funds is what we're getting to do this.
Yeah, but if we didn't use it for that, we could use it for something else.
No.
No, because
No,
we
once it's set
designated
in
these
place.
projects
We did-
when TIA started.
We designated a project.
The
that
council approved these projects many years ago, yes.
Many years ago, before, yeah.
These are the board projects, these are the T-Splosh board.
Yeah. Okay, let's pick out a few more roads that go by county businesses and let's pave those too. Good Lord. Okay, never mind. I'll pass.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments?
I don't wanna ask him one, I'm afraid what the answer might be.
All right, thank you, Jeff, appreciate that. All right, moving along, Larry, resolution for the 2023 budget amendment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, through March, on last month's financial report, we were doing very well. Revenues were up and expenditures were under, and we were doing very well. But there's a few line items that were running a little heavy, and to keep our auditors happy, we need to do a budget amendment just to shore up those few items. Basically, there's 2 departments running pretty tight. That's the general government and the public works. And also, there was another adjustment that we wanted to do, is creating a marketing department. And last year, in this budget this year, we had a part-time marketing person, and through Abby, we learned that we can't put that marketing under Main Street, and that's where it was. So basically, we're pulling $15,700 out of Main Street and creating a marketing department for $15,700. So they're offsetting. So that's part of the amendment, is creating the marketing department. And then in the general government, we had one line item for GMA telecommunications and right-of-way management agreement for $10,000 that was unanticipated. And then we had $10,000 for bat removal. We had bats we had to get rid of several months ago, and we didn't anticipate that. And then our legal fees are running heavy with lawsuit with the county, so we need to increase that 205,000. We had budgeted 323,000, so we're moving that up to 450,000 for this year. Last year it was 570,000, so
Coming down.
that's getting expensive.
Coming down.
Fighting the county, so
Isn't that sad? That's a lot of money. We could do a lot of good with that money,
I know it, it's a shame.
defending
then-
ourselves. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
But, and then the Public Works, they had a traffic study that was 6,500 that we didn't budget for. And then they had a big vehicle repair for 9,000. So those few items there will shore up those two departments where make our auditors happy. So they'll both be in good shape. And part of the increase in revenue that we've had is our interest income has just gone through the roof. So that's paying for these budget amendments. So we're increasing the interest income 240,500 to offset the budget amendments of 240,500.
Okie dokie.
But everything's good.
There you go.
It sounds great. It sounds wonderful. Thank you, Larry. All right, that is all of the resolutions. City manager report, Emily? You don't have one tonight, okay. Let me very quickly share with the council, just so you'll be aware, we do have to submit a ballot for our District 11 officers for the Georgia Municipal Association. That ballot's not due until June the 2nd, but I do want to make you aware that the proposed ballot for our district is for Tommy Roberts, who is a council member of Fitzgerald, to be the president. First Vice President Carla Gibson Wright, a council member from Alapaha. Second Vice President Sandra Tooley, who is a council member from Valdosta. And third Vice President would be Keith Brooks, a mayor from Blackshear. So if that slate of officers for District 11 sounds okay for you, then we'll authorize that as our ballot and then submit that to GMA. So I guess we'll vote on that at the council meeting. Do we need a vote, Jessica, or you just want?
Just say okay.
Just say okay?
Just-
Okay. Okay. Any problems with that? I won't call for a vote, but anybody have any issues? Okay. All right. All right, so now we're at mayor and council comments. That was my comment, to see what you felt about the district officers. So does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss? Lester?
No,
I'm good
Josh?
tonight. I'm
MJ?
good.
let's get out of here, Dave.
Okay. All right, well, if there's no further business to come before the council, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.